Well, the company's name is Jeco Plastics Products. I'm the CEO, I'm the owner as well, and we are a rotational molder and a thermoformer of high tolerance products worldwide. It started rather low, mostly domestic customers, but it's risen dramatically since my association with the Department of Commerce. Now comprises at least 2/3, and I think that will continue to increase here, but along with the sales volume as well. The Commerce Department was pretty important, and in a variety of ways. Certainly there was the contact with potential sales representatives. There was support at trade shows, advice which ones to go to, how to set up, and all that kind of stuff. There were introductions, particularly at the provincial level, state level, to the local governments there that could influence such matters. There were introductions as well to senior levels, appropriate senior levels, large customers. Volkswagen was a good case in point. But in one case, I was really floored. They set up a meeting for senior personnel from Heidelberg at the Consul General's house, right outside of the trade show area there. And it was arranged ahead of time. The Consul General was briefed. His wife was there as well too, and it was very effective. They invited senior personnel from Heidelberg. I didn't have to do that. I didn't know them. They did. So it was a nice way to really accelerate that relationship, which over the last 25 years, it was the first one I had, and it's the longest one I've had. It started that way. But they also introduced me to domestic services, which were pretty important too. I knew almost nothing about the Export-Import Bank. With their direction, though, that changed. Even the SBA, I had really a very passing, relationship with, and again, with their guidance here, I developed that one as well. So it was a variety of things like that. I was really surprised at the extensive financial support. Always usually was participation, 50% kind of thing, which was wonderful. It affected all aspects of what I was able to do. I had one grant I know that allowed me to purchase very expensive equipment, which was critical to me getting into Safran, French company, of course, like that. So I hope I didn't miss any. It's a remarkable thing. I've run companies all over the United States. I've never seen anything like it. I've had all kinds of support from educational institutions. Those things just don't happen elsewhere, in my experience. Well, I think it's important for everybody, but I think it's particularly important for Indiana companies because of the available state support that you have for this. I'm not sure I make that recommendation in states immediately adjacent to us, for example, but I most certainly would for that. It's a critical aspect of actually doing this international business. There's no doubt about it. I found it to be, both from an economic and a personal standpoint, a critical element of our current success. So hopefully they'll follow that same path, same results. One thing that I found was a surprise was how small companies, so I'm talking 5 million to say 35 million in sales, how they're viewed overseas, particularly in Europe, compared to how it is in the United States. I'll give you one example. We received significant orders from a Tier 1 supplier to Airbus called Safran. They identified us. There was some interaction. We were certainly exploring aerospace, no question about it. But they actually contacted us because of our unique processing capabilities, our ability to hold tolerances, our certifications, ISO, AS9100, CMMC Level 2, various things like that. But they worked with us for over 14 months on a weekly basis. This is conversations directly with Toulouse about various things that were important, having us conduct various tests of our equipment, our ability to produce products, and so on. And that was for my company in Indiana. And I thought, if I had tried that at a similar sized U.S. company, I know from personal experience, it would have been, if they answered the phone, it would have been a very quick conversation. there is not the same regard for the benefits that a small company brings, both in innovation, in responsiveness, and in terms of unique processing technology that is recognized by European suppliers to an extent that I found surprising. It's been a great situation, Frank. Really great. There were numerous roadblocks. Some were procedural or administrative. Those are relatively easy to overcome, again with advice and also learning from the customers that you developed. The ones that were most difficult really were how to interact in different business cultures. I mean, I'll give you a brief example. At different levels of an organization, and particularly Germany and Japan, even things like the seating arrangement are a critical indicator of how you're going to communicate and with whom. Things like that required advice, and some of it was from the Commerce Department. And with their encouragement, I also employed individuals from each of those overseas markets that had a personal experience in how to address them. When I'm meeting at particularly a senior level, I'll always take along somebody who I know has operated, a native person who's operated at that same level, so that I can judge by his actions here how I should conduct myself. And this is even though I'm experienced. I still look for that because I don't want to make an inadvertent mistake that would affect my ability to communicate what I have to do. So it's a progressive commitment to understanding a culture and a language that is really very important. You've got to be exporting something that local suppliers cannot do or cannot do as well. And you got to have that. But beyond that, it just broadens the world. It's just such a remarkable experience. It's just not only an economic advantage that you've got, but it's on a personal level. It gives you a different perspective on life. I don't mean to sound too expansive, but I have to be frank about it. It does. Okay.